birthday, America, and happy 4th of July week to all of you watching. Welcome to The Frank Life, a podcast inspiring you to take charge of your relationships, career, and financial success. I am Frank, and I'm super grateful that you are joining us today. Oh my gosh, there is so much we have to catch up on. First of all, I had a really lovely 4th of July here in Seattle. And a lot of you might not know this, but I've spent most of the past 4 years living outside of the US. I was bouncing between Canada and China, so it was really special to spend the 4th of July back here in America this year, living back in my home country. So what was really cool about it is a friend of mine invited me to go out on a boat with her, and a bunch of us got together and watched the fireworks out on Lake Union. And while I was doing so, I took a little bit of time to reflect on our nation. So America just turned 241 years old, yet she's also going through puberty. Think about it. She's covered in zits that are driving her crazy, and she's experiencing unpredictable growing pains. She feels like no one gets her, but how could they when she's not even sure of who she is? And with so much change happening right now in our country, it's very natural for many of us to question who we are as a nation and what it means to be American in 2017. Our country is going through adolescence, and this is a scary yet exciting period of rebirth and discovery. And although we all know that diversity is one of America's greatest gifts, we are all still deeply divided. Our nation has become so polarized to the point where it's hard to engage with anyone if they share a different opinion from us. So today's topic is on how to engage with another person of an opposing opinion with curiosity and compassion. I am so intensely passionate about this topic right now because it is so relevant and we all could use a little bit of support here. So let me just start by saying everybody is entitled to their own opinion. That is not the issue. The issue is how we engage with those who don't share the same opinion as us. We are wondering, why are we experiencing this cultural dilemma right now? Well, it's because people don't know how to disagree with one another and be okay with that. It's crucial to know this, not just politically, but also for relationships that we have with our family, our friends, our lovers. And when we don't know how to engage with people in disagreement, we hold on to resentment. We live with judgment. And the more judgment we have, the more energy we put into fear, anger, and disappointment. And that's what keeps us from experiencing our potential and from having productive, healthy relationships. Now, if you haven't already, I highly recommend listening to episode 4, which is titled Trump, Stress, and Magical Pens, because in that episode, you'll learn the sole cause of stress and how to create inner peace, and it will set you up with better awareness for what we're going to talk about here. So, think about for a moment people in your life who you find it hard to see eye to eye with. Or maybe there are people who you can't have certain conversations with because you know it's just going to get too heated. And as a result, you find that these disagreements are creating wedges in your relationships and your potential relationships with other people. So let's talk about this. First of all, why is disagreeing with someone so painful? Well, from a primitive standpoint, any kind of perceived difference is going to be processed in our brains as a threat. It's a natural human instinct to want to be around those who we feel belong in our tribe, the people who get us, who understand us, who agree with us. Yet the ego is perceiving anyone who doesn't fill into that image as a threat. Now, to put on my psychology hat on for a second here, this discomfort that we feel when we are around situations or people that go against our own beliefs, this is called cognitive dissonance. This is what happens whenever we're confronted by any kind of information that conflicts with our existing beliefs. Because we all have an inner drive to keep all of our beliefs in harmony. So whenever we experience dissonance, or people who go against and challenge our beliefs, we feel a pressure to eliminate that disconnect so that we can get back to comfort. Now, here are some of the very typical yet disempowering ways we get back to that state of harmony. Firstly, we just simply dismiss the other person's opinion, we shut down the conversation, we walk away, we just flat out reject what they're saying, we delete them on Facebook. Don't worry, it's okay to admit it. Or we just go and seek support from other people who share the same beliefs as us. So this is all a method of avoidance. We're avoiding any kind of interaction with them because it's making us uncomfortable. And we're all guilty of doing this to some degree. Now, another way people might react is by going into what I call the courtroom approach, where we immediately have to defend ourselves, prove the other person wrong, and push our opinions. Yet the more we push our opinions on someone else, the more we pressure them with our worldviews, the more likely they are to push back. And as a result of those conversations, people typically leave them having the same exact beliefs they had to begin with. They don't have any further perspective or understanding, and they're holding on to all this anger because of how frustrating it is to try to get someone on your side. And the final way that people react to those with different opinions is they try to manipulate the other person to share their opinions. They'll lead them on. And this might work. It might work really well, yet eventually people will find out. And no one likes to find out that they've been manipulated. That'll bring them back to square one and lead you back to disharmony. So how do we break this pattern so that we can engage with others who have other opinions and not lose our cool? Well, the very first thing to do is ask yourself, what is the story that you have around the other person's opinion that's causing you to feel so angry? What are you taking their opinion to mean? And here's one way to really make this clear. Think about one flavor of ice cream that you can't stand. Just that one flavor you would never order. Now, if I were to go with you to get some ice cream, and you picked your favorite flavor, and I happen to choose that one flavor for myself that you detest more than anything else, how much would that really bother you? Chances are it probably wouldn't, because you don't have a story around me choosing that flavor of ice cream. Now, how about if you're with someone who shares a totally opposing political view from you? Let's say that they tell you they're pro-guns, or they're pro-abortions, or they're in support of having a border wall. It's really easy to see how, when it comes to religion and politics, it's so easy to have a story around people's opinions. And typically those stories are things that they have never even told us. We are just imagining it ourselves, based on our own past experiences or our own views and attitudes. But it doesn't have to just be religion and politics. I have kind of a weird situation that happened with my former partner where I absolutely love and still love The Theory of Everything, that movie about Stephen Hawking's life. And I couldn't wait to watch it with my partner because I had this expectation that he was going to love it just as much as I did. So after we finished the movie, I turned to him and said, "So what'd you think of that? How'd you feel about it?" And he looks at me and says, it was okay. I didn't really find it too good." I got so pissed off at him. I could not believe that he didn't see all of the beautiful things in this movie, all of the different elements that the movie highlight, the themes of love, knowledge, perspective, perseverance, all things that I value so much. And I was so frustrated that he didn't see that. And he said back to me, "What's the big deal? It's just a movie." And at that point, I had to check myself to see what was the story I had around him not loving the movie like I did. I had a story that just because he didn't like the movie, he didn't share those values that I shared. And that wasn't true. But until I acknowledged that I had this story around his opinion, that was when I was able to let my frustration go and be okay with him not liking the same things that I liked. Now, for a lot of cases, just recognizing your story is enough for you to be at peace and harmony with yourself. But let's say you want to actually engage with that person further and really understand where they're coming from. Well, here's how you can continue a conversation with someone who shares a different opinion. The first thing you do is ask yourself, what is your intention going into the conversation? Is it to win? Is it to have some sense of pride and power by winning over the other person or proving them wrong? What if instead you had the intention to simply learn and understand that person with compassion and curiosity? Now, you could actually say that out loud and invite the person to have a conversation with that shared intention. You could say, hey, it seems like we have different opinions on this. How would you feel about engaging on this topic further in a compassionate way? It not only invites them into the conversation, but it plants a seed for them to also vibrate at that level so that they could meet you with that sense of compassion and curiosity. Now, here's the first thing you'll do when you engage with someone. And this is going to be probably the hardest thing because we so want to share our opinions and why we feel the way we do. Your first job is to keep your mouth shut and listen. Now, here are some rules to have in the back of your mind as they're sharing. First of all, do not make their opinion about you. You do not have to take their opinion personally. It's just a reflection of who they are in the moment. Also, do not label their opinion as wrong. Reconcile that there is no right or wrong. At least for that conversation, really suspend your judgment of right and wrong for the sake of learning. And the last rule to have is to not interrupt them, and that's a big one. So instead of interrupting, here's what you're going to do as they are sharing. You're going to take some opportunities to acknowledge what you're hearing. You're going to show them that you're really hearing what they're saying. And some ways to do that is by saying something like, let me make sure I'm understanding you. Or, can I shoot back what I'm hearing from you? Am I getting that right? You're not listening to them with the intention to prove them wrong or to take something they said and challenge it. You're just taking in their words objectively. So after you really acknowledge what they say and you get a sense of what they're conveying, just curiously ask them where they came to have that opinion. Because things make sense when we have the bigger picture. They will make sense to you. Even though you might not agree with them, they make sense for having the opinions they do. And you could explore with them what core beliefs or values they are honoring with their opinion. Chances are there'll be some common ground there. So you'll be able to recognize that even though you have different opinions, you do have some shared core values. And that's a good place to be, to recognize there is common ground between you. And after they finish sharing and you've acknowledged them and you've identified maybe some common ground between you all, thank them for sharing. You can say, hey, listen, I so appreciate hearing your perspective, especially one such as yours, because it allows me to learn more about who you are and how other people might feel about this topic here. So thank you. And if you're cool with this, I would love to share my opinion on this so we can understand each other further. And you would say that because now you're asking permission, so they're inviting the conversation to go on further. And they're going to be more engaged and open to listening to you because you're showing compassion, and they're going to meet you with that. So as you share, here are some rules to keep in mind as you're sharing. First of all, don't use any blaming language. You're not going to say, because of people like you, I can't get healthcare. And you also don't want to use any blanket statements or generalizations or perhaps even stereotypes like, oh, Republicans are just so selfish and heartless, and therefore I feel this way. And then allow the conversation to continue and unfold. Have fun with it. This is not about just agreeing to disagree because that's a cop-out. This is about really understanding another person's point of view. It's about seeing the conversation as a playground that you are exploring together. Rather than even it be about agreeing, it's about gaining mutual understanding. And ultimately, your strength is not you just standing in your beliefs. It's about being aware of what you believe in while still holding empathy for the other person with differing beliefs. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. And before I go, I'd love to share an exciting opportunity I have for entrepreneurs who are looking to grow their income and their impact. If there is one thing I have learned from building my business, it's the importance of having a positive, inspiring community who stands by you. Otherwise, it's really easy to get demotivated when things don't go as we plan. And one of the biggest limiting beliefs that I used to have when I started growing my business was that I have to do it all alone. So I have created a business building mastermind group called Fast Forward with Frank, and it's for entrepreneurs who are committed, uplifting, and supportive. You can apply to be a part of this group from anywhere in the world, and here's what we'll cover together in the 6 weeks with each other. We're going to go over how to sell without feeling manipulative and slimy. We'll talk about how to identify your niche, how to creatively and strategically offer your services and products, how to express yourself in your business, whether it be through your writing, through your workshops, or through your public speaking. We'll have weekly calls where you'll get direct support on building your business with specific strategies in networking, marketing, and sales, and you'll also receive business coaching from me so that nothing will stop you from having the business you've always dreamed of. So here's the deal. Spots are limited, and we're getting ready to kick off in late August. So to apply to become a member, head over to thefranklife.com/fast. That's thefranklife.com/FAST. I so look forward to hearing from you and helping you fast forward your business. Thank you for tuning into today's show. I will be back next Friday with a brand new episode. And in the meantime, it has been great being frank with you. Ciao for now.